Training montage number 8: The Dangers of Sentimentality. Tsunade looked up from her desk suspiciously. Hidden stone. Yup. Sasuke was stood with perfect posture. May I ask why you chose this mission in particular? Sasuke shrugged. I just felt like this was a mission that would best assist the glorious village of Konoha. Aha. He maintained eye contact for a few more seconds before breaking. Also, one of the 7 swords of the mist is presumed to be there. Ah. The one that explodes. Does Mist know about this? Probably. It would be in the spirit of cooperation to let them reclaim their artifact. And it would be in the spirit of my growing sword collection to not do that thing. How many of those do you have? 4 of the 7 so far. Tsunade maintained eye contact for a few more seconds before smirking. Go. Yes, ma'am. How long have they been going at it for? Karen whispered. About 50 minutes. Kabuto admitted. I'm not sure how she's kept the curse seal active for this long. Damn. The redhead reached over and grabbed a handful of Kabuto's popcorn. In front of them, through the large hole in the wall of the northern hideout, was a wide expanse of desert. Out on that desert was what could be accurately described as 2 kids with superhuman strength beating the shit out of each other. Hinata, in the second stage of her curse mark, was seemingly having the time of her life, grabbing her opponent and taking him on a joyride across the desert, slamming him into various stone structures as she went. Beneath her, Hyuuga, the primary experiment of this hideout, was roaring incessantly. He was fully transformed, with black skin and red eyes, and had completely lost his mind. Crashing into a boulder, he grabbed it in both hands and heaved, tearing it out of the floor and flinging it up to collide with Hinata. There was a flash of lightning, and she split the rock in 2, flying down to land in front of him. Woo! This is fun! She chuckled, before her eyes hardened. But seriously. With a blur, she appeared in front of Hyuuga, with a palm on his forehead. I will literally blow your brain out if you don't calm down. Hyuuga froze. Then, slowly, he began to transform back, the bestial features disappearing from his body until he was left in his usual form, with pale skin and bright orange hair. I'm so sorry. He whispered. I can't control it. The anger comes, and then it's fine. Hinata reassured, removing her hand to pat him on the shoulder as she reverted back to her own base form. I know it's not your fault. She looked back where they'd come from and wrinkled her nose, waving at Karen. Do they really just keep you locked up in there? They do. He sighed. They don't have any other way to control me. Kimimaro was the only other person who was safe in my presence, except Orochimaru, of course. Boo, Kimimaro. Hinata winced. He's, dead. Hyuuga exhaled. I know. He looked at her. He came to visit me before he went out to get you. Said you were his legacy. I don't know about that, you can control me. He told her. You're stronger than me. And with you, I know that I won't hurt anyone if you don't want me to. With threat of death? She tilted her head. If it works. He chuckled. She shrugged. All right. I'll talk to Roki, see if I can't get you freed. In the meantime, though, she squinted, more for his sake than hers, at the hole in the wall. We'll probably have to find you a new cell. Kankuro stood, panting, amidst the remains of scrap metal and wood. From his right, there was a clapping sound, and an old voice. That was quite a show of temper, young man. Who are you, and how did you get in here? He replied, unconcerned. My name is Chio, said the voice. And I go where I want. Tell me, why did you just destroy all of your puppets? They're not much use to me anymore, I need to make new ones for my eyes to fit in. He replied, turning to face where she probably was. And these puppets failed me once before. So they need replacing. No sentimentality, HM? The woman cackled. Do you throw out everything that doesn't serve a purpose? Not everything. Kankuro replied. Don't try to make everything a moral dilemma, puppets aren't people. Most of the time. Chiyo muttered. What? Nothing. Did you know, my grandson created those puppets sometime before he left? Oh. Kankuro didn't feel particularly sorry. My bad. Would you like them rebuilt, or? Nah. The old woman chuckled. He's an asshole. So what are you going to do now? Make new puppets. Kankuro replied. Better ones. Ones I know I can trust. And if I fuck up with those, then I can blame myself. In that case. Chiyo chuckled. I may be able to help you. Sasuke was currently sat in a dark, dingy cave. A fire was too likely to attract attention, so as cold as it was, he would have to cope. That or attract bloodthirsty Miss Jonin he was technically at peace with. You've got it? Itachi asked, appearing in the cave a moment later. Got it. Sasuke grinned, tapping a ceiling scroll against his leg. Shibuki. Splash. I don't know what maniac decided to make a sword out of explosive tags, but I'm not complaining. The two sat in silence for a few minutes, but there was obviously something bugging Itachi. Eventually, he vocalized it. I hear you've been spending a lot of time back at the compound. With Mom and Dad. Yeah. Sasuke tensed. We made up. He's playing nice, then? Not sure what you mean. Sasuke shrugged, eyes on the scroll rather than his brother. We eat. We talk, a bit. It's chill. You know you can't trust him. What am I trusting him with? Sasuke bit back, a little angrier than he'd planned. I go home for dinner sometimes. That's it. You're letting him talk to you. Itachi replied evenly. And I'm worried about what he says. You'd know what he said if you showed up. Sasuke remarked, bitterly. You want me to sit down and eat with him? Okay, enough of this. Sasuke span around to face his brother. What the hell is your problem with Dad? Itachi tilted his head, in almost believable confusion. Other than the part where he tired to force his way into the old man's job, nope. Sasuke cut across him. That's not it. You've had beef with him since long before that. About as long as I can remember. What is it really? Itachi sighed and looked down. Classified. How classified? Very. All right then. Sasuke thought about it. Has he killed anyone innocent? What? Itachi looked at him like he'd grown an extra head. I don't want specifics. Sasuke held out his arms. You don't have to break confidentiality. Has Dad killed any innocent people? I know, not as far as I know. Itachi answered. Has he tortured any innocents? No. Has he done anything to jeopardize the well-being of Konoha? Itachi's mouth set into a line. No. Do you hate him because of some idealistic difference? Because you disagree about what's important? Itachi opened his mouth. Closed it. Sasuke flopped onto his back. Look. If you'd spent more than an hour around Naruto and Hinata before the team formed, you'd know they were not happy people. Probably still aren't. And neither of them had families. Period. He sat up. Well, I do, Itachi. And call me selfish, but I'm not about to give that up because you don't think Dad is a good person. Itachi looked at him for a moment. Then sighed. You're right. I'm sorry, I've said I should stop trying to tell you how to live your life. I'll try to. He broke into a coughing fit. Sasuke started forwards in surprise as his older brother began retching up phlegm. Shit, bro, what I'm fine. Itachi waved him off, recovering somewhat. I must have picked something up, that's what I get for sneaking around in the cold for hours on end. If you say so. Sasuke shuffled backwards, trusting him. I've set a clone on watch, so I'm going to try and get some sleep. See you tomorrow. You too, little brother. Sasuke rolled over. He didn't see Itachi bring his hand away from his mouth covered in blood. No way. Gaped Hinata. Sasuke? You knew him? Karen asked, puzzled. Knew him? He was my teammate. The Hyuga laughed out loud. You have a crush on my teammate. I mean Karen blushed. The two were in Hinata's room. It was dark outside. Orochimaru's apprentice had wanted a sleepover and Karen had been too amused to refuse her. I'll have to introduce you to him. Hinata mused. Sometime after I'm done here. This is assuming he doesn't immediately try and arrest you for working with Orochimaru. Of course, watching closely, Karen was able to catch it. Subtle, but there, Hinata's face took on a melancholic expression for just a moment. It happened every time her old friends were brought up. Hinata? Karen asked, tentatively. HM? You know you don't always have to smile, right? Hinata tilted her head. I don't know what you mean. You're always smiling. Karen continued. And I don't know if you're trying to cheer us up, or there's something deeper to it, but you're allowed to be sad. Hinata kept up the mask for another few seconds before sighing, and dropping into a much more neutral, almost wistful expression. You know, someone once had to tell me that I was allowed to be happy. Seems I'm always one for extremes. Are you okay? Karen asked. No. She admitted. Not really. I'm practicing the Naruto method of acting happy so that even if it doesn't help me, I don't bring down other people. Well, it's working. Karen assured her. She grabbed her hands. Look. When I was young, my mom died. She used up too much of her chakra trying to heal the wounded from some war or another. After that, it became my job. And they thanked me when I healed them, blessed me, promised me everything for saving their lives. Right until the hospital got attacked, they all died, and I went off to be a ninja. The point is that since I lost my family, you're the only person who's ever been nice to me without expecting anything in return. Except those hugs you demand when you get really homesick. I'm sorry, your chakra looks like Naruto's. It was Hinata's turn to blush. It's fine. Karen waved her off. Look, you care. I don't mind if it's just an act, it feels the same to me. So I'm sticking with you, got it? Not Orochimaru, you. I don't. Hinata shook her head. Karen, I don't expect your service, I know. The redhead smiled. That's why you have it. And it means if you need to, and your teammates aren't there, you can come and talk to me, okay? Hinata smiled, and she knew this one was real. Thanks, Karen. I will. Haku let herself into the house, closing the door with a deliberate rattle. I'm home. Hey dear. Shizen shouted from the kitchen. Dinner's fish pie, in 10 minutes. Were you able to get the wave fish? Haku called, taking off her shoes and leaving them by the door. Damn right I was. Called Tsunade, from the living room. Persuaded the fire daimyo to let Konoha in on the trade deals. You're welcome. Thank you. Haku walked in to crash on the sofa opposite the Hokage. He hadn't been formally adopted or anything, but Tsunade had realized soon after her promotion that he was still technically being held by TNI. Lacking an alternative, she had let Haku crash in the house she shared with Shizen, and eventually decided the dynamic was fun. Oh yeah, congratulations on your Chunin-ness, in case you didn't get that enough in Suna. Tsunade remarked. Thanks. Again. Haku paused. Did you notice that the Mizukage was present? Notice? Tsunade chuckled. It was hard not to. Bitch is almost as stacked as I am. What? Nothing. Why, did you meet her? She came up and talked to me. Haku explained. Kept talking about my unique position and stuff. He wrinkled his nose. I think she wants me to betray Konoha. Sounds cool. Go ahead. Of course what? Go for it. Tsunade shrugged. Mist's a cool place. Very misty. Good mist to hide in hidden mist. This is a joke, right? Terumi wants me to go work for her. Aha. Tsunade acknowledged. Hold Nether Ninja executive ladder right there. Why would you? Haku narrowed his eyes. You're scheming. Now whatever could you mean by that? Tsunade was making a sly smile. Haku thought through it in his head. Executive ladder may mention that I would be able to access senior positions in Mist. What did she use? Sly dog. HM? Haku gaped. You're setting me up to be Mizukage. That's a bold statement. I'm 15. Gar's younger, and look at him. Gar's a Jinchuriki. Haku shook his head vigorously. He nearly blew up Konoha on his own, undone level at best, for now. Tsunade raised a finger. You have a powerful bloodline limit. The finger pointed towards the diamond shape on Haku's neck. And in a few years, that is going to mature. You've had years of unofficial training under a very powerful Miss Ninja, and you're about to get a load of official experience from 2 separate hidden villages, not to mention the personal tutelage you're getting from me. You have potential, mister. So you want me to, what, continue with the assassinate the Mizukage shtick? Haku asked. As much as Mei is a massive bitch, and admittedly she's trash compared to the rest of the Kage, and you can technically challenge her to a duel to the death for the position, no, I don't want you to kill her. Tsunade stretched. But she gonna die someday, ninja always do. Most don't live as long as the old man did. Or she'll be deposed in some other way. But if you're there to take her place, so what's in it for you in all of this? Haku looked at her suspiciously. Because being a puppet ruler for Konoha kind of sounds like bad practice. I don't want that. Tsunade rolled her eyes. I wouldn't mind friendlier relations with Kiri, sure, but mostly, well, it's your choice. I'm not going to make you do it if you don't feel like it, I just want what's best for you. Haku looked at her like she'd grown a second head, but Tsunade was still there, blushing slightly. I'll think about it. Haku allowed. It's something my old master was after for his whole life. And it's good to have something to strive for. But make sure not to knock up anyone over there until you've taken over. It was Haku's turn to roll his eyes. I'll try, Mom. What was that? Ma'am. I'll try, ma'am. I have the key to your seal. Kyubi glared. You do not know how to leave well enough alone. Come again? Naruto held his hand out. A glowing key-looking thing appeared above it. Jiraiya has a toad that guards it. I can use it to strengthen and weaken the seal. So, why should I care? The fox waved a claw dismissively. You can get rid of my escape progress. It's not like you'd ever be stupid enough to weaken the seal. Naruto waited. The 9 tails looked at him. No fucking way. Powers. Fuck you. Do you want to get out? The fox had stood fully to attention now, looking down at him. You're crazy. I'll kill you if you let me out. You know that, right? Right now, sure. Naruto shrugged. I'm hoping we'll be able to work on that. You absolute, I'll weaken the seal. Naruto promised. If you're willing to offer me some chakra. If you're not going to be of any help, I'll tighten it up so I can't even hear you until I'm about to die. But, he grimaced. I really don't want to do that. Because it sounds like it's been really nasty for you while I was a kid, and I don't want to do it to you again. You're feeling empathy? For me? You're really screwed up. But if you'll cooperate, I'll weaken the seal so you'll cooperate more. And eventually, when I'm confident you won't try to kill everything I care about or I'm strong enough to stop you, I'll let you go. You're lying. I don't usually do that. I've watched every prank you've ever committed. I don't lie about anything that's important, and I don't go back on my word. If we can work together, then eventually I'll free you. I'm still under your control. The fox growled. No matter how nice you are, the final decision will always be up to you. You're trying to guilt-trip me, and it's not working. Naruto deadpanned. I'll be an asshole if it stops you killing people. But I'm willing to give you a chance. Kyuubi glared at him suspiciously. Are you using Jinjutsu on me? I literally cannot cast Jinjutsu to save my life. HN. The fox leaned back and mumbled, fine. What? Fine. It snapped. I'll lend you some power when you need it. Woo. A little. How much? More than you'll ever need until you're fighting people who are Kage plus. If you want the really cool powers, you have to beat me up and take my chakra, good luck with that, and then finally release me and have me keep cooperating, good luck with that, but I doubt you'll ever need that much. You're the best. I know. The fox preened. Now. Have you done anything with the passive chakra I've been feeding you? I can make the basic chakra cloak. Naruto answered. No tails appear, like one did when I was fighting Hinata, but it still makes me stronger and faster. I can mostly control myself when I'm doing that one, I'm just pretty annoyed at everything. Okay, so let's call that Kyuubi cloak version 0. Said the fox, taking on an almost lecturing tone. 1 through 3 tails of power is version 1, that's what you failed to defeat your teammate with. Do better next time, by the way. You're not allowed to lose while using my power anymore. And version 2 is 4 through 8 tails. Entering version 2 is a significant power boost, so naturally has a lot more risks, and each tail passed for gives you more power and less self-control. What happens when I have all 9? Naruto asked, innocently. That would require you completely removing the seal, at which point right now I'd kill you. Kyuubi replied, nonchalantly. Oh. So, where to begin? The fox mused. I can output a bunch of chakra into your technique if you give me time to build it up, but if I try that for most of your attacks they'll explode in your hands. The summoning and shadow clones are lucky exceptions, the former was a massive skill-less chakra dump and the fat tie has already explained the latter one's workings. I know, let's try and get you into 2 tails version 1. Ah. Naruto shifted. Not that I don't appreciate the sudden burst of enthusiasm, but are you sure we want to start with further than I've ever gone before? You'll be fine. Reassured the fox, with a very unreassuring grin. You don't have anything to get angry at, and this time I'm trying to regulate it. It's just a matter of getting used to it and controlling it. All right. Naruto sighed. This is me extending the initial olive branch. Hit me. The Kyuubi's form glowed. Red light suffused the water that flowed down the center of the sewer, approaching Naruto hungrily. Gulping, he stepped into the stream. With a jolt, he was back in the clearing. His form glowed. And he hauled to the sky. After the fight of his life, Naruto stomped back into his mindscape, glaring daggers at the Kyuubi. You bastard. The fox raised an eyebrow. How did it go? I tried to kill Ero-sensei. He shouted. Did you win? No. I thought I made it clear that I went insane. Completely nuts. You didn't ask for any more chakra though. What happened? Naruto shrugged. Turns out this cool pendant I got from Tsunade suppresses Bija chakra. Shame, I hoped you would level the forest. The fox shrugged. Yeah, well, Naruto paused. You hoped? The Bija looked at him. You knew it would happen? It snorted. Did you just prank me? The most dangerous demon in the lands rolled onto its back and laughed. You are an asshole. A massive, gaping asshole. You are far more entertaining than most of my owners. All right, ha ha. Naruto rolled his eyes. Now do it without the madness. No. Why? I can't. What do you mean you can't? The fox craned its head to meet his eyes. I'm not all here. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You are an immortal demon beast with incredible power. Don't try and tell me you're having an off day. No, I mean I'm literally not all here. The fox rolled back over and huffed. You're talking to half a demon beast. The young half, to be precise. Explain, said Naruto, very confused. After I was brainwashed for my little romp in Konoha too soon, and the fourth Hokage did the Reaper death seal to put me in you, he decided that he was going to literally split me in half. Probably thought if he put all of me in you I'd have taken over by now, which is probably true. I'm not elemental like some of the other Bijou, so you're currently talking to the yang half of my chakra. The yin half I have no idea. Maybe he sealed it inside himself when the Reaper ate him so he could come back later under a reanimation jutsu and dramatically give it to me? Naruto suggested. That would be stupid. The Kyuubi dismissed. Why? Because even if there was a plot device with the power to bring people back from the Reaper's body, he wouldn't have known about it. The fox reasoned. And if he did, he would have told someone about it long before now. And more importantly, if us Bijou could be permanently removed by sealing us into the Reaper, it would have been done generations ago. My other half is probably sealed into someone else, or hidden somewhere. But I think that imbalance is part of the problem. Isn't Yan the good one? Naruto scrunched his head up. I think less shadowy dark stuff would be a good thing. Yang is light, yes, but it's also masculinity. Confidence. Aggression. Too much yin chakra would make you dark, depressed, calculating and broody. And your penis would shrink. What? Joking. Mostly. But the young overload you get whenever I pour my chakra into you makes you enraged, overconfident, unthinking. A picture-perfect demon host. It's not just that I'm sabotaging you, at least not deliberately. Your spirit is just massively out of whack. So how do we fix it? Naruto asked, skipping to the point. Ideally, get my other half back. The Kyuubi growled. But lacking any leads, you're going to have to balance it yourself. If you provide the yin chakra yourself, you should be able to stay sane enough. But I suck at yin. Naruto complained. Loud, flare, explosions, yang is where I'm at. Shadow Shuriken? Multi-shadow clone? The fox dismissed. You probably act all young because your chakra is in up the wazoo. Look, if you can learn to focus that nature transformation, you should be able to access higher levels of my power without going crazy. You want me to master a nature transformation? That sounds like it would take a while. Naruto frowned. The Kyuubi shrugged. Well, you have 2.5 years. Hop to it. I'll be here if you need me, tormented eternally by loneliness and imprisonment. Ah, come on. You've got me? And the good news just keeps on coming. Naruto sighed and turned away. There was a jolt, and he was back in the clearing. Jiraiya. I have a plan. Seas glistened. Mountains cut stark gray lines through the greens of forests, the yellow of deserts, the whites of the snowy poles. Beautiful, isn't it? The man declared. I wouldn't know, remarked a female voice from behind him. I suppose not. He sighed. I hope to show you, one day. Me too. It sounds really pretty, to hear you talk about it. I don't remember it being all too special, though likely due to your birth circumstances. The man replied, darkly. Those who raised you were despicable. Hey! My family was the best. He bit down on his tongue. Of course, my dear. I apologize. Still, events progress down there that worry me. The Akatsuki are about to move, the beasts are converging, that schemer continues exerting his influence over the world, and those two he cut himself off again. My ancestors were quite right. Mankind has more than proven that it has failed in its duties. What do you mean? The female voice was concerned. Nothing, my dear. Don't worry. Soon, we will both be able to see. Arms crossed behind his back, eyes still closed, Tonari Otsutsuki looked out at the ninja world. 5 years before graduation. The moon was full and bright, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky to get in the way of its gleam, casting a pale white light over all of Konoha. Itachi glared at it. Stop snitchin', motherfucker. We couldn't get a dark night for this? Some mist to hide in? Come on. The moon didn't respond. The eldest Uchiha scion knew damn well he was being ridiculous to try and distract himself, but given what he was distracting himself from, he was gonna damn well let himself. Let's see how long we can delay the oncoming panic attack, huh? There was the tiniest whisper of noise, and Hyuga Neji appeared next to him in the gardens of the Hyuga compound. Done? Itachi asked. Done. Neji replied. Hinata's asleep. I moved her out of her parents' room, the Umbu will find her passed out on the sofa. And everyone else is yeah. Itachi blew out a breath. Delaying the breakdown, don't think about the murder, we have about 3 minutes until the alarm is raised. Ideally, we need to be a good distance into the forest by then. You got everything? Everything. Neji nodded, shouldering a large, padded rucksack. Knowing Neji would be doing the same, Itachi took a brief look at the rucksack with his dojutsu, getting an inventory of what his partner had decided to bring so that they'd know what to scavenge for later, and stopped. Neji. The Hyuga winced. Itachi. Is that what I think it is? White eyes narrowed. I couldn't if I left, I know, but what the hell are we going to do about it? I don't know. Neji grimaced, keeping a tight control over his voice. I was just thinking. Do you still have Shirsue's eye? Itachi stilled. Nodded. Is it, I don't know what to say, charged? It can be used, yeah. But out of Shirsue, the cooldown on it will be just shy of 10 years. Well, unless you have anyone else you particularly need to mind control. Neji left the question hanging, but Itachi shook his head. I'll explain the plan on the way. Trust me. The Uchiha sighed. All right then. Let's hustle. I reckon we have about a week in which I can realistically be chasing you before things get suspicious. Then let's see what we can get done. Without another word, the two vanished into the night. 2 minutes later, the alarm was raised on the greatest tragedy to befall Konoha since the Kyuubi attack 7 years prior. Act V, everything starts to happen all at once. Everybody is here. Suno is hot. This was something Sasori of the Red Sand had heard said quite a lot. He had experienced it himself. In fact, growing up in the Hidden Sand village, he'd had plenty of time himself to curse the blazing sun, or the freezing nights. Of course, nowadays he didn't feel anything at all unless he built a puppet specifically for it, not usually worth it, and especially not through the puppet body that was currently strolling past the corpses of a few nameless Suna shinobi. He looked up into the sky, where Deidara was having the most fun he'd had in ages battling with the Ichibi's Jinchuriki. Massive plumes of sand flew through the air, grasping for the large clay birds circling round them and attempting to get through the nigh impenetrable defenses. Ordinarily Sasori would have been more than comfortable letting his partner do his thing, but when he began to hear explosions that didn't coincide with Deidara's attacks, he decided to intervene. My. How enterprising of Suna. Turrets were dotted across Suna's high walls. Large constructs firing upwards at the battle in the sky, peppering Deidara's birds with flak fire. Irksome. Shrugging the puppet's shoulders, Sasori revealed its claws and dug them into the walls, clambering up the sandstone structures until he was stood next to one of the turrets. It was trivial to whip out a chakra thread and tear off one of the plates, revealing its occupant or lack thereof. The turret didn't have a cockpit, but continued firing completely automatically, ignoring Sasori completely. No, not automatically. Remote-controlled. Well, he latched more wires onto the construct. In a room far beneath the battle in Suna, a blindfolded boy felt one of his eyes up above go dark, as his link to it was severed. Kankuro tightened his grips on the strings. A shell based on the explosive tag technology and a wind release fire mechanism. Not bad. It had taken Sasori a few seconds to understand the puppet's inner workings, after which he immediately turned it and fired it at the other artillery. That certainly got their attention. As one, the turrets all turned away from the sky battle and trained themselves on him. His was quickly destroyed by a barrage of fire. This is fun. He set his sights on the next nearest turret, which was when his artificial ears picked up someone landing on the wall behind him. I don't know who you are, a girl's voice said, but you've just smashed one of my brother's toys, and he is going to be pissed about it. Sasori smiled. Sabaka no Temari, unless I'm mistaken. He turned around. These are Kenkuro's work, then? I'll have to EWW. Pay him a visit. What the fuck even are you? The blonde kunoichi stared at him, aghast. Sasori of the red, yeah no shit, but Kami. Temari shook her head. You look horrifying. I really? You look like Bane crossed with the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I what? Read books. You look like Darth Malak mated with a Zabrak, like violently. Well, that's obscure. Oh no, wait, is that meant to be a beard? Temari squinted at him. Oh, I thought it was a mask. Never mind. You look like the ladies from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You know, the ones who put the fake beards on so they can stone a guy. Are you a girl? If so, you poor soul. There was another explosion from up above them. Sasori sighed. Look, I have to go destroy more turrets. Are you going to stand there and insult me, or am I going to kill you? Neither. Temari drew her fan. I'm gonna beat your ass and take you in for questioning. Ah. Sasori crooned. You go, little Genin. Don't let anyone tell you what you can't do. I'm a Jonin. Oh wow, they're just letting anyone in nowadays. Temari swept her fan forwards, blasting a small hurricane of sharp wind at him. The sides tore into his puppet body, splitting it into almost a dozen different pieces and spreading him across the top of the wall. He lay still. Ha! Temari shrugged. That was not what I expected. She walked forwards, cautiously. She almost didn't notice, but just as she reached the remnants, another explosion from up above that highlighted the glints of chakra threads still connecting the individual parts. Temari was a Jonin. The moment she noticed, she leapt upwards and away, but it wasn't fast enough. Out of one of Sasori's back parts, a large metal tail launched out and darted towards her, drawing a thin line of blood across one of her legs. She landed, and watched as the chakra threads tightened, and he rebuilt himself. A puppet. She sighed. Should have expected that, really. One hand absently scratched her leg where he had caught her. You go for the surprise attack, and that's the best you can do? It was enough. Sasori shrugged, walking away. Hey, where do you? Temari paused. Oh shit, poison. Right. Her legs buckled underneath her, and she crumpled to the floor. Amused by the encounter, Sasori continued walking. It wasn't long after that. The remaining turrets were quickly rendered useless as a wide plume of sand poured up from the desert, covering the entire village. The reason for that was made clear a moment later, when a gigantic boom echoed across the sands. And that means we'll be done relatively quickly. Sasori took a moment to look out across the village. Looking up in shock, saved by their Kage. Not knowing that they were going to be conquered by this time next year. The first step. Beware world. The Akatsuki is here to show you real power. You said that aloud, you know. Deidara remarked, floating down on one of his clay birds. You didn't hear anything. Hey, at least you're better than Pain. Guy monologues everywhere he goes. Now hop on, before their Anbu realize what's happening. It was a beautiful day in the forests outside of Konoha. Birds were singing, flowers were blooming. On days like these, kids, well, they certainly shouldn't be stood on tree branches facing off against each other. I have returned. the one uttered, solemnly. He was a mid-teen now, but you wouldn't guess it by looking at him. He was significantly better built than anyone his age had the right to, owing to the intense physical training he'd undergone. His clothing was no longer completely orange, just mostly, with black highlights and a red spiral on his back. White fur had made its way into the cuffs and shoulders. His eyes, for now, at least, were a bright twinkling blue, and his blonde hair had grown out a little. 2 tufts of it sprouted up on his head in a way that might be confused with animal ears from a distance. So it would seem, responded the other. His clothes were black and tight, with a high collar around his neck. He hardly seemed to have put on any muscle at all. His frame was thin, lithe, and tall, though, he noticed with annoyance, not as tall anymore as the boy across from him. Everything about him looked sharp, from his face to his black hair to the spikes on his bracers. His eyes had no visible color at all, before they swirled into red circles with 3 black tomo within them. It has been a long time, Uzumaki Naruto. So it has, uttered the blonde. My separation has made me stronger, Uchiha Sasuke. Is that so? The dark-haired boy's hand fell to the sword at his hip. A finger slid the end of it free of its sheath. Prove it. With nary a blur, Sasuke had vanished and immediately appeared right in front of Naruto with his sword, having already completed a lethal slash. The Naruto shadow clone popped. Entirely unsurprised, Sasuke looked around, awaiting the inevitable clone dogpile, then was forced to jump away as the tree in front of him shattered into dozens of tiny projectiles. Naruto, having done nothing but punch it, charged out after it towards Sasuke. They collided midair with a slam and broke out into a chaotic melee. Sasuke's dexterity was almost overwhelming, but Naruto had spent a long time training with Jiraiya to capitalize on his particular strengths, like using his ridiculous physical power to smash the surroundings apart and keep Sasuke at a distance. Sasuke was perfectly happy with that as well, falling back and hurling shuriken at an incredible rate. Their indecipherable patterns inevitably caught Naruto. He grimaced as one dug into his shoulder, but quickly vanished as a different Naruto appeared in his place, and then that one vanished the moment a blade touched it. Now the shadow clone swarm began in earnest, dozens leaping out from the foliage to assault Sasuke. He didn't move, continuing to produce an inordinate amount of bladed objects and throwing them in every direction. Not one of the Naruto was able to reach him. Huffing in annoyance, the team changed tack, and after a few shouts a powerful gust of wind picked up all the kunai and flung them back at their source. Sasuke easily sidestepped most of them and responded with his own hand seals. Fire style. Great fireball jutsu. Wind style. Naruto countered. Shredding gale jutsu. The extent of their training became quite evident. 2 massive elemental blasts hurtled towards each other, only to collide into a massive sheet of ice. Exactly 3 hours later than he was scheduled to, Kakashi arrived in the clearing. Now I know you all must miss me, but please, save your adulation, for he paused. The clearing was empty. Sasuke and Naruto analyzed the newcomer. The ice wall, smashed by the jutsu from both sides, collapsed into pieces, and the figure stood atop it fell gracefully to the floor between them. That is all either of you are capable of? They mused. And here I was with high expectations. Their black hair was tied into a long ponytail that fell down to their hips, shinobi code for I'm so good at taijutsu I don't care that I'm giving you something to grab. They wore short white shorts and a light blue sleeveless top, and their headband, strangely bearing the twin symbols of both leaf and mist, was around their neck as a choker. Large brown eyes stared at the other 2 in the clearing. Yuki Haku, despite 3 years of puberty, still looked like an attractive girl. All 3 suddenly moved, Haku flinging Senbon in both directions and jumping away. Naruto slid under them while Sasuke pursued, swiping them out of the air with his sword and moving to within striking distance. There was a flash, and he was trapped within a prison of ice mirrors. More needles rained towards him, but he was able to deflect all of the projectiles from the air with little effort. Oh, the outside, Naruto reached one hand out to the side and began marshalling his chakra. Wrecking Rasengan! He shouted. The spinning blue sphere formed in his palm, but then slipped out of it, still attached to Naruto through the presence of golden chains that wrapped around the ball, distorting its surface into a spiked mess. Naruto let the chains extend to a few meters in span, swinging the Rasengan in a circle before slamming it into the ice prison. The chakra-suppressing qualities of the adamantine combined with the Rasengan's inherent destructive power smashed through one side of the prison and out the other, sending shards of ice littering everywhere. Naruto didn't pay it any more attention. He rushed inside, grabbed Sasuke and bodily threw him backwards, ramming him into a tree. Sasuke opened his eyes and stared at Naruto, Sharingan flashing. For a moment he froze in place, which was long enough for Haku to jump from the remaining mirrors and drop on top of him, pinning him to the floor. That snapped Naruto out of it. He bucked, forcing Haku upwards, but the ninja summoned a large spike of ice and forced it down. That was interrupted by a chittering sound. Sasuke blitzed in, Chidori glinting with lightning, and he struck forwards with it, blowing the ice spear into pieces. All three combatants separated, forming a triangle in the clearing that they had just created, and staring at each other warily. I could do more, but my strongest powers damage my eyes every time I use them. Sasuke admitted. I could do more, but I don't trust the Kyuubi enough to sick him on you. Naruto admitted. I could do more, but if I start using Tsunade's seal before it's matured, it will degrade and waste all my effort. Haku admitted. They paused and looked at each other. Put this on hold for now? Naruto suggested. Agreed. The other two replied. Then they all ran at each other and competed in a different way, namely, who could crush the others the most in a big three-way hug. Cammy, I've missed you guys, it's been ages, for fucking years. There were grins all around and much hearty backslapping before the three separated again. Have you two not been near each other? Naruto asked, pointing his finger between them. I thought you were both still here. I spent most of it off with Itachi. Sasuke shrugged. And I was in Hidden Mist for a lot of it. Haku explained. The rest I spent training medical ninjutsu with Tsunade and Sakura. Oh yeah, Sakura. How's she? Significantly more competent. Haku summarized. She's a healer/person who punches things really hard. Plus she and Ino have gotten over their crush on you, Sasuke. Oh, thank goodness. He visibly relaxed. They've grown out of that? Sorta? Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Explain. Ino clearly still has a thing for effeminate boys with dark hair, because she can't seem to decide whether to chase after me or Sai. Haku pondered. We're considering sharing her. How much of Konoha have you two seduced at this point? Naruto raised an eyebrow. About a quarter of the people our age? Great. Is Sai still working for his Dark Master? Yes, but this one time he avoided killing a child because he thought it would upset me, so we're making progress. Speaking of progress. Sasuke turned on Naruto. You'd better have made some. You're telling me you couldn't visit once in 4 years? I sent letters. Naruto defended. Me and Jiraiya were in the wilderness for the whole time. I had to send shadow clones into town for food. It was a good idea, too, because I raised the entire surrounding kilometer like 3 times. And speaking of, he turned to glare at nothing in particular. Hey, Fluffless. Why didn't you help me out against Sasuke's Genjutsu just then? Sasuke and Haku exchanged confused glances. Yeah, okay, so you haven't technically agreed to do it yet, but Naruto paused. No, it wasn't just a childish game, this was me showing off my new skills. You don't want me to look weak, do you? Hey Naruto, bud, are you doing okay? Sasuke asked. Yeah, I'm fine. He said, turning back to them. Sorry, uncooperative Bijou. His eyes lit up. Wait. I haven't had a Chiraku ramen in years. It's going to taste amazing. Come on, my treat. I'm down. Sasuke shrugged. I'd like a chance to catch up properly. Agreed, Haku. Finally reunited, the trio began their walk back into what the hell are you all doing? They turned. Kakashi was stood there glaring at them. "Oh, hey." Sasuke greeted him. "Sup? Did you want to come too? We were supposed to do a bell test." Kakashi deadpanned. 5 hours ago. Ah. Sasuke made a contrite face. Our bad. It's just I got lost on the road of life. Haku excused. I got caught up in the Great Squirrel War. Naruto nodded shamefully. And I was busy thinking up excuses. Sasuke finished. Terribly sorry. Won't happen again. Witty. Kakashi replied. But you do realize that if you can't get the bells, we can't form up as a new team. What, these bells? Sasuke reached into his pocket and pulled out a jingling pair. Exactly, though Kakashi paused. Shoved one hand in his pocket. When did you take those? Hours ago. Sasuke snorted. He held his hand up and got high fives from his two friends. So are you coming, or what? I'm getting you back for this. But, free food is free food. Kakashi sighed, shoved his hands into his pockets, smiled behind his mask, and followed the three into the village proper. Underneath Suna, two jonin burst into one of the lowest rooms. Sir! One shouted. The Akatsuki! Did you find my brother? Kankuro snapped. They looked at each other and gulped. No, sir. The Kazekage is missing. The chakra thread spreading out from Kankuro's hands tightened. And my sister? Tamari was poisoned by one of the attackers. She's currently in critical con. Both winced as something upstairs exploded loudly. Continue. Kankuro prompted. Sir. One of them coughed after a moment. You're the highest-ranking ninja in the village. What do we do? Kankuro sighed. At once, the strings all severed themselves, and he stood up. What we've been trying to avoid doing for years. Someone patch me through to Konoha. Skipping the boring cutscenes. And then everyone got their mission from Tsunade and trekked over to Suna, but that's boring, so nobody thought to write about it. The standard Konoha ninja are organized into 3-man teams. This was because, after a long trial period, they had found it to be the optimum number of people to complete missions efficiently and stealthily with minimal opportunities for error or miscommunication. However, in times of war, or in missions where stealth was a non-factor or the difficulty was particularly high, teams of 5, 6, 7, or even 10, 3 sub-teams with an overall leader, were sometimes considered. Hunting down 2 fleeing Akatsuki members to save a Jinchuriki and Kage definitely fell into that category. So Kakashi, Haku, Sasuke, Naruto and Sakura all walked together through Suna's gates, and were quickly escorted by the Umbu there to the Sand Village's primary medical building. So I know it's good to have a medic on the squad. Sasuke whispered to Haku. But you're here. Why is Sakura? Well, I mentioned Ino had gotten over you, but substituted you with me and Sai. Haku replied, just as quietly, watching the pink-haired Chunin stomp ahead of the rest of the group. Sakura had a similar thing. Remember when you got your brother to show her the Gaara Lee fight? Sasuke's eyes widened. That worked? She fell for Lee? Not quite. Sakura slammed the medical room's doors open and declared, all right punks, where is my boyfriend? Oh perfect, you brought her. Kankuro growled from the corner, before raising his voice. Read the mission report, sweetie. Your boyfriend's the one that got kidnapped. The rest of the 5 filed into the room behind her, and immediately took notice of the form laying on the room's only cot. Tamari was not in a good place, unconscious, but shifting about in her sleep with grit teeth. An unhappy-looking red fox was sat on top of her, but it perked up when Naruto shouted Yuzu. And it scampered over to him. The fuck did this? Haku muttered, grabbing Sakura and walking over to the patient. Sasori of the Red Sand. Kankuro bit out, as the 2 medic nin began their work. Akatsuki, puppet master, the guy that fought an entire country's militia at once and won. This is the second Kazekage he's attempted to assassinate. He managed it last time. Naruto frowned, stroking the fox. Wasn't that Orochimaru? He killed the fourth Kazekage. Sasori killed the third. Have any of your leaders died of natural causes? Kage don't tend to live long natural lives, Blondie, and we're getting distracted. Kankuro turned to Kakashi. My sister is dying, and my brother is well on his way. I want the heads of the people responsible on spikes. Will you help? Kakashi turned. Sakura? Haku? We might be able to fix her up. Sakura replied, in business mode. But I've never seen anything like this poison before. I've identified 3 different elements that will kill her in one quick check. Do you have any other samples of the poison? Kankuro twitched one finger. Chio is coming now. Who's Chio? Naruto asked. She has history with Sasori. She might be able to help. Ex-girlfriend? Kankuro snorted. Not exactly. To Kakashi, and the other part? The murdering the assholes that did this part? I mean, that will be more difficult. Admitted Kakashi. Considering we have no idea where they went, their tracks are long gone, show them the scrap you found. Sasuke called across to him, boredly. The Uchiha was stood separately to everyone else, staring up at the corner of the room, curiously. Kakashi scowled under his mask. Fine, take all the fun out of it. He pulled some red fabric out of his pocket. Behold. A scrap. The fuck is that? Kankuro asked. I'm glad you asked. Kakashi replied. For you see, damn it Sasuke, you took all the wind out of my sails now. This is twice. Be a better Jonin. Sasuke shrugged, still looking at the corner. Punk, yeah, it's a scrap off Sasori's clothes. My dog summons can use it to track him. Then we're burning time. Kankuro gestured. Where are we going? We? Naruto squinted. We're going to go fight some S-rank ninja. Are you sure you can do that? Kankuro managed to glare even with a bandage across his face. Look me in the eyes and tell me you don't think I can fight. Naruto blinked. I can't. Exactly. He's not blind, Naruto. Sasuke came in to save his teammate. He held up a hand and waved it at an innocuous-looking wall. What's it like living in third person? Kankuro actually smiled. He twitched another finger, and a small wooden contraption, previously almost perfectly camouflaged, detached itself from the wall and scuttled along the floor. And I was now visible on top of it. I'm not blind. I see everything that happens in this village. Kankuro explained. Oh, you got crippled and it gave you a massive power boost. Naruto realized. It happens a lot in Jiraiya's books. Precisely. Kankuro smiled sweetly. Remind me to thank Sai before I definitely don't murder him. Oh yeah, Sun is still incredibly salty about what happened 4 years ago. Sakura remarked, not looking up. Weird that you'd hire us even though you want to seem more independent. Oh, for Kankuro's side. You want me to say it? Fine. We need your help. Fuck my pride, I don't care. Just help me save my family. The Konoha nin exchanged glances. Crap, he's being genuine, I can't mock that. Naruto summarized. There was some cackling, and the door opened. It's good to see you're making friends, Kankuro. It really warms my old heart. Hey Chio. Kankuro waved. The Leaf Kitties want your help. That's Sasori's ex? Naruto screwed his face up, taking a good look at the old woman in a silly hat that walked in. How old is this guy? She's his grandmother. Kankuro sighed. You. That's way worse. Kakashi smacked Naruto round the back of his head, eliciting a yelp, but Chio just laughed it off, before narrowing her eyes at the 2 ninja beside Temari's cot. Oh, I recognize that healing style. You two are Tsunade's students. Yes? Haku confirmed, questioningly. Your Kage was a real pain in my butt. Chiyo declared. She kept healing the people I tried to poison. I'm sorry? Sakura tried. Don't worry about it. That means you'll be useful. Chiyo turned to Kankuro. Leave me with one of them and your sister will be fine. Her gaze darkened. I imagine the rest will be going to fight Sasori. Let me guess. Sasuke drawled. He's your grandson, so you don't want us to kill him. Oh no, he's crazy and he needs to go down. She dismissed. I lost most of my empathy for him when he started turning his friends into puppets. Give him an extra kick for me, would you? Just pointing out that there's also a guy called Deidara with clay explosives, and he did most of the work. Kankuro added. Oh yeah, kick him too. Kakashi turned to the medics. Which one of you two is staying? They looked at each other for a moment, before Haku sighed. I'll stay. Strength is probably more useful than needles against puppets and explosions. Go get your man, Pinky. Sakura whooped. You do realize you're all going to die, right? Gaara mused. He was in excruciating pain due to the gradual extraction of his bijou, but years of living with said bijou meant he was entirely capable of hiding that pain. There was a massive scary statue behind him that he was trying his hardest to ignore. You're remarkable chipper, considering what's going on. Sasori replied, sat next to him. When Gaara didn't respond to that, he sighed, and put on a mocking voice. Why are we all going to die, Mr. Kazekage? I'm glad you asked. Gaara smiled back. It's because I did this thing called making friends during my tenure as Kazekage. And they're all going to come murder you. That's it? Is that not enough? No, I was just expecting something more. Gaara mused. I suppose there's the fact that there aren't any civilians around in this dingy cave, so you won't be able to hold a bunch of people hostage like you did with me. He smiled, with a vague aura of brutal slaughter. If you'd like, you can let me go, and we can try it again. Deidara looked hopefully at Sasori. No. The puppet master glared, making the bomber huff and wander off. Sasori walked across to Gaara and leaned towards him. So, you think you've made friends? Rich. You do realize you're a monster, right? The only people coming after you will be trying to retrieve a war asset. I stopped you killing everyone in my village. Gaara replied. And you're calling me a monster? Sasori chuckled, darkly. Ah, an ethics lesson. I think you'll find most of the world sees things far more literally. Take it from someone who gave up on people long ago, friends will always disappoint you. Gaara looked up at him and smiled. There was no fear in his eyes. You've never met Uzumaki Naruto. Sasori scoffed and turned away. So what is the plan for you two? Gaara called over his shoulders. Are you just sitting around for a few days while I slowly die in front of you? Deidara snorted and looked up. Few days? Where did you get that idea? Oh. I just presumed if it took 3 days to seal a bijou into the ghetto mazo that would cause hella plot holes later on. The Akatsuki shrugged. It takes minutes to hours, depending on how much pain wants to help. Oh. Gaara felt the last wisps of sandy chakra leave his body. Very well. I'll make a note that Akatsuki always finish quickly. Was that a fucking? By the time Deidara had stood up to retort, Gaara had already died. Hey Neji. Kisame called. Do you want to send some clones to slow down the people hunting Deidara and Sasori but ultimately not kill anyone? Doesn't that just sound like it would pointlessly pad the runtime without accomplishing anything? Neji replied. Yeah, you're right. Neji went back to crocheting. Kisame went back to thinking about killing children. We're getting close, said Kakashi's dog. We're getting close. Kakashi shouted backwards, somewhat pointlessly. The five had broken free of Suna's oppressive desert and followed a river into grassier territories. Now they landed before the mouth of a large cave in a rock face. The opening thrummed softly. "You seeing what I'm seeing?" Sasuke asked. Kakashi lifted his headband, revealing his Sharingan, and nodded. "A barrier. Fuin Jutsu. Damn it. Puppet mastery is technically a sealing jutsu." Kankuro informed them, the little spider drone on his shoulder looking around. "Sasori's an expert. I heard he can literally put a seal in your brain and control you." "Shit." Kakashi summarized. "We're going to need an expert if we want to unlock this." There was a flash, as a series of golden chains slammed into the barrier. Chakra shattered and dissolved as the glowing links whipped around, tearing the entryway apart. "It's unlocked." Naruto responded, releasing the chains and letting them vanish. "Come on, let's go." "Fucking kids," Kakashi growled. "All right, fine, let's do this." They ran in. The cave was very big, almost the size you'd expect of a massive fight arena or something, with only 3 figures on the inside. Naruto's breath hitched. Kankuro's fingers clenched. "Well shit," remarked a long-haired blonde, relaxing atop a comfortable-looking seat. "That was fast. You guys are good at this." "Guys, I think this might be them." Sasuke deadpanned. "Gee, what gave it away, the fact that they're sat on Gaara's corpse?" Naruto snarled. His voice had gradually increased in volume over the sentence. "Hey, Mrs. Eyepatch? Get your skinny ass off my friend. I'm a guy." The blonde deadpanned. "Great, he has Haku syndrome." Sakura summarized. "Wow, look at all the fucks I don't give. Feet. Off. My brother." Kankuro glared. "Stop using the Kazekage as a footrest, Deidara," Sasori told his companion. Sighing dramatically, Deidara heaved himself off Gaara. He made sure to stomp on the boy's head as he got up. Naruto's eyes flashed red. He began to dart forwards, but 4 glowing threads in his back held him from lunging straight for the Akatsuki's throat. "Cool it," Kankuro hissed. "Revenge is easier to enjoy when you're calm." Across the room, the duo in black were having their own discussion. "We trying for the Nine Tails?" Deidara asked his mentor, quietly enough that their attackers couldn't hear them. "If the Kyuubi gets loose, it's above our pay grade," admitted Sasori, grudgingly. "Bait as many as you can, then lose them. I'll kill whoever stays, and we'll regroup. Leave the Uzumaki boy for Neji or Pain." Aloud, he said, Kankuro. The boy with the ingenious turrets. "How is your sister doing?" "Temari will be fine, I'm afraid," Kankuro replied, reaching for a storage scroll behind his back. "Really? How good to hear." A few ominous clicks came from within Sasori's body. "A shame that you will not have the same fortune." Now. Now Deidara grabbed Gaara's corpse and span, as Sasori's left arm came up and a hatch in it opened. A whirlwind of small needles blasted out towards them from it. Naruto was quick to make wind-release hand seals, but quickly aborted them as the rest of his squad dodged out of the way. As they did so, Deidara took the opportunity to form a large bird out of clay. It quickly clutched onto Gaara's corpse, and Deidara hopped onto it, gave them a wave, and it began to flap its way up out a hole in the ceiling. "Shit, Sasori, catch him, leave him to know. You go, I outrank you, dumbass Clay. When did you make Jonin?" But these were trained ninja, and by the time Sasori's needle attack finished, the shouting had been evolved into a plan. Naruto charged Sasori, shouting loudly and wielding a Rasengan, but the puppet master slid his tail round and stabbed him in the stomach. Which was fine, because he was a shadow clone, and now Kakashi, Sakura and Naruto Prime leapt up after Deidara. Sasori turned to intercept them, but was forced backwards by a large fireball cutting across his path. "Let's keep this between us, huh?" Sasuke offered, taking his hand away from his lips. "We're going to 2v1 a member of the Akatsuki." Kankuro sighed, coming up behind Sasuke. I'm blind and we're 2v1 ing Sasori of the Red Sand. Got any hacks? Sasuke asked, as their opponent turned towards them. I've got 20 puppets and sealing scrolls, but I can't use more than 10 at once. Kankuro warned. I've got a high-cost line of sight insta-kill. Sasuke provided. But I have no idea if that's even his real body. Well, Kankuro palmed a sealing scroll. We'll know once we've torn him apart. Sasuke grinned and drew a sword from his back. Oh, I think we're gonna work great together. Master of Puppets, no, not the song. Massive Chakra Dick Flop. Noun: a massive chakra dick flop, or chakra flex, is when a shinobi uses a powerful and often wide-area jutsu just to show off how big their chakra reserves are. At genin levels, anything as simple as a great fireball can count as one, but when Kage are trying to intimidate armies of foreign ninja, the feats can reach large building or even city level in magnitude. Uses 1. Then Jiraiya just flexed his chakra and summoned a fucking 5-story toad in the middle of the hidden village. 2. And then Hashirama went true 10,000 hands and made a giant fuck-off Buddha statue like, we get it, your chakra dick is really big Madara, it's been 3 days. Chill. Just thought I'd mention, we don't have an antidote to his poison and by all accounts he puts that shit on everything. Kankuro warned. We can't get hit. Once. I didn't plan to. Sasuke held up Rado and his Sharingan flashed. Then he grinned. Oh man, that was a good one. Did you feel that? Across from them, Sasori's tail flicked through the air. Those eyes very desirable. I'm curious as to how useful they'll be once you've been turned into my puppet. His eyes flicked to Kankuro. You too. I've never tried to use puppet mastery through a puppet before. He turns people into puppets. Kankuro whispered. It's really fucked up. Yeah, I caught on to that. Sasuke charged. Sasori once again attempted the Senbon cannon, but Sasuke didn't even falter, batting everything in his way right out of it with his blade. The moment the flurry ended, he sheathed it and made hand seals. The Chidori sprung to life in his palm. Sasori's tail spiked towards him, moving to skewer him where he stood, but Sasuke didn't stray from his path. The small spider drone camouflaged on his back did move though, jumping up towards the attacking limb. Kankuro moved his fingers deftly, and the spider's chakra thread wound around the tail and tightened, restraining it just above Sasuke's head. The Uchiha continued unhindered, and blasted the Chidori straight into Sasori. The wooden exterior exploded. Splinters and shards went hurtling across the cave, landing in a mess some distance away. Well, Sasuke remarked. I gotta say I thought that would take a bit more. Nope, never mind, he's still alive. A figure rose up from the wreckage. That wasn't too bad, said a much younger voice. I guess I'll have to take you both seriously. Wearing a puppet as armor, I should have thought of that. Kankuro muttered. Standing up was a boy with red hair who didn't look much more than 18. Do you know, he remarked with a smile, I haven't had to use my real body in is that a second Akatsuki cloak? Years, what? Sasuke pointed. Did you deadass it the Akatsuki to make you a second cloak for when you're pretending to be a puppet? Only 2 members of the Akatsuki have ever known of my true appearance. Sasori boasted, before saying a little quieter, I had to get the second cloak commissioned. Sasuke snorted. How much did it cost? Like 40 ryo. That's not bad actually. Where did you? Sasori drew a scroll from his back and it glowed, before revealing its contents with a puff of smoke. Sasuke heard Kankuro swear, and then felt a series of small points on his back tense. His eyes widened as he was yanked backwards by chakra strings, and only had a moment to wonder what the hell Kankuro was doing before the ground he was previously stood upon was torn apart by blades. A puppet with blue hair and spines protruding from its arms looked up at him. That's the 3rd Kazekage. Kankuro hissed as Sasuke landed beside him. The one he assassinated? Yeah, we're fucked. Sasuke took in the sight, Sasori's easy smile. I take it he was strong? The strongest so far. Did he have spike arms? No, did he have arms? What do you mean arms? That. Sasuke pointed. The third's puppet reached out, and one of its arms opened to reveal a set of seals, up from which appeared more arms that stretched out in a tsunami towards the two teenagers. Kankuro whipped his arms out and two of his puppets charged forwards with their own blades, slicing at the wooden poles. Sasuke jumped forwards to join them, but then backed up again as purple clouds began spewing from the arms. Poison gas? He snarled. Really? Kankuro, do you have wind release? No, damn it, where's Temari when you need her? Kankuro unsealed another puppet and sent it in. Leave this to me. Inside the smoke, the puppets were engaged in a full-on brawl. The Kazekage puppet was lethal, stronger and faster than any of Kankuro's, but the younger puppeteer had it outnumbered, and his own machines had an impressive number of tricks and traps contained within them. Sasuke dimly remembered that wielding more than one puppet at a time was incredibly difficult, and gave his teammate an appraising look. Kankuro was, understandably, not looking up, his body posture was hunched, his arms were held out to either side like he was reading air currents, and his fingers were twitching like an inane person. But apparently it was working. These puppets are good. Sasori praised, from across the cave. Who made them? I did. Kankuro growled. Really? What happened to the ones I left in Suna? I destroyed them. Sasori's face actually showed some emotion. What about the man and the woman with red hair? Those two. The missing nin's eyes narrowed. Those were my parents. Shouldn't have turned them into robots. Kankuro didn't even flinch. Oh, okay. You are very much going to die now. Sasori twitched, and his puppet's back opened. A glimmering black fluid spilled out of the third and whipped towards the other puppets, digging its way into their mouths and joints. They stopped moving. Iron sand. Kankuro bit out, cutting chakra to the constructs and letting them collapse. The puppets keep their owner's bloodline limits? That's bullshit. Sasuke pat him on the shoulder, walking forwards. Tag out. I got this. More metal particulates appeared from the third, forming into a large cube which it hurled straight at the two of them. They dodged. So it made another cube. Sasuke found himself flinging himself around the cave to avoid all sorts of metal projectiles, from shuriken to giant blocks to spinning inverse pyramid things. Avoiding it got even harder when it sprouted metal wings. How did those help? And began flying around the space. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it there. The puppet turned the metal into tentacles like this was Konoha Ghoul and began flailing them at its opponents. Perfect. Sasuke charged up a lightning jutsu and waited. As a tendril swept for his legs, he side-flipped over it and blasted it with the technique, causing the electricity to conduct right through the metal and into the puppet itself. It made a horrible, far too human screeching noise, shuddering in place as it lost control of its wings and crashed to the floor. Sasori was quick to make it stab one of the tentacles into the earth as a ground wire, but not quick enough. One of Kankuro's puppets latched onto it and buried inside it, tearing it apart. This immediately disintegrated all the metal constructs, including the one swinging for Sasuke, which left him free to bring his blade to bear on Sasori. The Akatsuki jumped away, barely avoiding the sword, and all Sasuke was able to do was cut into his cloak, forcing him back against the wall. He sighed. 40 Rio, asshole. Being a terrorist doesn't pay well, you know. He unbuttoned the ruined cloak and threw it away. Both of his opponents took a step back. What? Smiled the human puppet. You're not squeamish about nudity, are you? Temari awoke with a strangled gasp. She's up. Called a black-haired girl, hands glowing over the Suna girl's chest. Calm down, breathe, Temari. You're safe. Temari squinted upwards, trying to make the world stop spinning. Haku? That you? What are you doing in wait, where am I? Everything went to shit. Haku summaried quite nicely. Village got attacked, Gaara got kidnapped, you got poisoned. Gaara Temari tried to sit up, and Haku calmly but firmly pushed her back down. Easy. Your other brother and some of Konoha's finest are tracking him down now. Oh, she's awake? An old lady leaned over Haku's shoulder. Great. There was about a 30% chance that last dose would kill her. Chio. Somehow, despite her less than reassuring comments, the old lady had a comforting presence. Temari, more slowly, and Haku allowed it, sat up, rubbing her head. Sasori. We know. Some blonde guy on a bird. We know. So what are we doing about it? Haku sighed. I told you, we sent, not them. Temari interrupted him. What are we doing about it? Chio hummed. Well, we've now got the cure to Sasori's poison, assuming he hasn't changed it in the past 2 days. And your brother and his friends may well be in dire need of it. Sasuke and Kabuto both backed up a few steps. Sasori was very obviously not a human being anymore. There was a hatch in his bare stomach, seams at all his joints, and just for effect he was putting on a creepy head tilt. You are 2 of 4 people alive who've seen me like this. He mused. One other was Hyuga Neji, not much you can hide from him, and the last was Orochimaru. You knew that guy? Sasuke asked. We've kinda got history with him and want to murder his ass. Oh, of course. Sasori nodded understandingly. One of my spies with him is meeting me at Tenchi Bridge 10 days from now. Kabuto frowned. You're just telling us this? Well, we were supposed to assassinate him anyway. The puppet master shrugged. If you manage to kill me, at least you'll go on to finish my job. Alternatively, he pointed his arms forwards. If I kill you, there's no harm, is there? Oh, thanks. How Ryusuna flames erupted from his palms. Sasuke countered with a great fireball, the 2 jutsu clashing in the middle of the cave, and backed up until Kankuro used his threads to pull up some large rocks to use as cover. Sasuke called across to him. Do you have water, Rel? I'm a puppet master. I don't have nature transformations. The flames cut out, and Sasuke jumped across to Kankuro's location, throwing a kunai. The flames immediately restarted, melting the kunai before it could even get halfway. Can we use your puppets as cover? Sasuke tried. They're made of wood. Fair enough, alright, new plan, we're gonna move this rock forwards until the fire cut out, before being immediately followed by a jet of pressurized water that split the rock in 2, and Sasuke was forced to grab Kankuro by his lapels and tuck him away from it while he summoned more of his seeing-eye puppets. The water jet swept through the air like insta-death lasers, cutting holes in just about everything, but Sasori had made the mistake of using another attack that conducted electricity. Sasuke pulled Rado and held it up, splitting the jet in 2, and channeled lightning chakra into the blade. The electricity immediately conducted back across through the water and into Sasori's puppet body. He jerked, and the water cut off, and Sasuke immediately sprinted straight for him, sword pointed at the incredibly conspicuous thingy in his breast. Without the Sharingan, he'd have been skewered. The metal wire darted out of Sasori's chest, grounding him, and blades popped out of his shoulders and began spinning, and Sasuke had to stick his feet to the floor with chakra to arrest his momentum before it was a trick his face came within inches of the blades, and Rado was knocked out of his hands and up into the air. Sasori pressed forwards, and Kankuro once again had to grab Sasuke with chakra threads to pull him out of danger. You think I've never had to go up against lightning release before? Sasori chuckled. Thanks again. Sasuke offered his ally, eyes tracking the movements of the spinning blades. If it's just one melee opponent, I can take him. Can you be ready to bail me if I can't get away? Kankuro nodded. I'd hate to interrupt your incredibly unsubtle planning, but the wires within Sasori's chest began spinning rapidly. Allow me to completely interrupt that plan. Red secret technique. Master of 100 puppets. Oh shit. Sasuke gulped. Kankuro. Massive chakra dick flop incoming. Sasori pulled another scroll from his back, but this one didn't simply conjure one puppet. It made, well, have a guess how many puppets the master of 100 puppets jutsu creates. How many can you control? Sasuke whispered. 4. Kankuro whispered back. Come on, dude, oh fuck you. Sasori gestured, and the puppets flew in. Get him. Vengeance for Gaara. Blood for the blood god. Skulls for the Iron Throne. Will you two both calm down, please? Sakura, Naruto realized, wasn't so bad to be around after all. Sure, when he'd essentially functioned as a blocker between her and Sasuke, she'd been a massive pain, but now he was starting to appreciate her viciously witty streak. Or maybe they were just bonding over their desire to hunt down and beat up the Gaara-killing clay-throwing piece of shit currently flying off on a bird. Naruto squinted at the fleeing Akatsuki, just out of range, and slowly, now he had some wind to work with, pulling away from them. Sakura! He shouted. Throw me! She looked across at him, understood, and grinned. They locked forearms. Sakura planted her feet on a branch and yoked Naruto up above tree level. He bled momentum fast, but it got him close enough to launch a set of adamantine chains to wrap around the bird's tail. It screeched, Naruto fell, he had a flash of déjà vu, and then he braced as his legs crashed back into the tree trunks. After a few resounding crashes, he was able to stick himself to a tree without destroying it and keep the bird still, albeit flapping wildly in one spot. That was when Sakura stepped on Naruto's face. Hey! She ignored him, sprinting straight up his chains. He realized, impressed, that she'd have to be balancing entirely without any tree-walking techniques, chasing straight for the struggling bird. Deidara quickly span in place, manifesting clay in his hands, but Sakura didn't even bother to reach him, launching a chakra-enhanced punch that smashed the bird apart, then grabbing Gaara's body as it fell. Deidara angrily hurled one of the blobs at her, but before it could land she disappeared to be replaced with a grinning Naruto clone. The explosion lit up the sky. A few moments later, the three Konoha nin landed in a clearing, where Deidara was busy brushing clay debris off his clothes. All right. Deidara sighed. You're all super fucking annoying. I know. Kakashi sighed. It's a gift. Naruto smiled, sweetly. Uh-huh? Deidara began spewing clay from some gross-ass mouth on his hand, forming some four-legged animal in front of him. Well then. If you want to fight the guy that just killed the Kazekage, you step right up. Kakashi and Sakura immediately stepped right up, but Naruto held out a hand to forestall them. Hey Kyuubi? He asked, inside his head. What? Came a bored voice. Gimme power. No. Please? I'm not stooping to give you my power so you can fight some little blonde crossdresser. Oh, alright, fine, I just thought what? This guy beat the One-Tails Jinchuriki in a fight. If we beat him, I already know I'm stronger than Shikaku. Me too. But won't it be fun to rub his face in it? Heh. Go. Guys? Naruto said aloud. You might want to stand back. His eyes flashed red. A glowing, bubbling crimson aura burst into existence around him, forming two ears above his head and one long tail out his back. I'll take care of this one, said the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, charging forwards. This humph technique is crash so boon bullshit. On the plus side, Sasuke found that his great fireball technique was very effective against Sasori's wooden-ass puppets. On the minus side, there were 100 of them. His Sharingan was darting about like nobody's business trying to keep track of them all, and his only consolation was that only so many could try and ram their weapons down his throat at once. Kankuro was doing equally horribly. The ground around him was littered with destroyed puppets as his active four formed a defensive perimeter around him and tried desperately to keep him safe. Crap, what do I have? Fire Jutsu? Insufficient. Chidori? Good against Sasori, but I can't reach him. The swords? Most of them are just swords, they won't aha. He battled his way over until he was side by side with Kankuro. I have a plan. He shouted. Maybe. What? Kankuro yelled back, making an impressive attempt to keep track of everything without any ocular powers, or, in fact, eyes. Sasuke reached for his left bracer where 7 seals, 2 currently blacked out, resided on the inside leather. He tapped one specifically, and through a burst of smoke drew out a thin, blade-sized needle with a long coil of wire attached to one end. "What is that?" Kankuro asked, seeing it with one of his puppets. "Nuibari," Sasuke replied. "One of the 7, why does it help?" Not bothered to explain, Sasuke used a genjutsu to shove the information into Kankuro's head. "Oh. That might work." "Yeah. Hold this." Sasuke threw the wire coil into Kankuro's hands and ran. The first puppet he encountered, he speared the blade straight through its chest. The piercing attack had no effect on the puppet, but Sasuke ignored that entirely, stepping out from behind it to launch the needle against the next puppet. And the next. And the next. The thin wire glinted. Nuibari was perhaps the weirdest of the 7 swords of the mist, and that included the one that was really an axe and the one that exploded when you swung it. The point of it, apparently, was that you impaled some people with it, and then channeled your chakra into the wire to manipulate their corpses and make some pretty patterns. Which sounded absolutely stupid. It was only after visiting Suna that he'd had an idea about what the sword's original purpose might have been. After all, Hidden Mist must have had some puppet masters, right? Kankuro, letting loose more and more wire as Sasuke continued his stabbing spree, gave it a little tug. The puppets moved. He tugged it again. The puppets moved once more. He grinned. "Mist, you sly bastards. It's a puppet stealer." He dropped all control of his own contraptions, grabbed the wire with both hands, and poured his chakra into it. Across the room, Sasori, previously sat on a rock picking his nose, jumped up in surprise as a small contingent of his puppets began disobeying his commands. He checked that, yes, the chakra strings were intact and functioning, but nonetheless 10 of the remaining puppets had turned on their brethren. Then 11, then 12, what are you doing? He snarled, looking across at the duo. You broke my toys. Kankuro fired back. So now? I'm playing with yours. Sasori glowered. That was another good one-liner. We are killing it today, Sasuke called out, continuing his rampant hacking of Sasori's combatants as the number of puppets on either side began to even out. Not to mention Kankuro was becoming more comfortable wielding his end of Nuibari, and the fights were becoming closer deals. The air was filled with the sound of clashing blades, smashing wood and mechanical rending noises. Sasori, clearly unhappy with the proceedings, made to join the fray. His central wire extended out like a grappling hook, clamping down onto one of the stolen puppets, and he accelerated towards it. Sasuke realized the problem. Sasori only had to sever the wire in one place to cut the effects entirely. Midair, he jumped off his latest victim, gauged distances with his Sharingan, threw his sword into the air and spun, kicking it as hard as he could over his own head. Just as Sasori's spinning blades moved towards the wire, Nuibari penetrated straight through his stomach and out the other side. Sasori's eyes widened in surprise. Then Kankuro caught the sword, and holding both ends, tugged, sharply. The puppet man froze in midair. That was when everything happened very quickly. Kankuro threaded his end of the wire through the needle again and pulled, and the wire's long loop tightened. Fast. Over 30 puppets were all tugged violently inwards, including Sasori himself, as the circle grew tighter and tighter. All were forced into a tight bundle right in front of Kankuro, just as Sasuke fell from the sky with a loud shout and a Chidori trailing from his lead arm, and crashed down onto Sasori's body. There was a massive flash of light, as some of the closer puppets were vaporized entirely, and lightning chakra tore all the surrounding ones to threads. The light was almost enough to keep Sasuke from noticing the strange cylinder, pulsing with chakra, that flew relatively unharmed from the wreckage. Almost. Oh no, you don't, amateur is HNGH. Threads wrapped around Sasuke's head and jerked it downwards, pulling his focal point off the core and forcing the black flames to burst into existence on the floor a few steps away. He can use the threads even as a that's not fair. Sasuke didn't see much other than the floor, but he felt the puppet wreckage he'd landed in move at Sasori's command, making dozens of parts tighten around his body and put him in a complete bind, then force him to a kneel on the stone ground. He heard swearing and shouting from Kankuro, undergoing the same treatment, and he heard a clunk as, presumably, Sasori's core fit into a new puppet. That. said the puppet master's voice from behind him. Was exceedingly close. I know this is a bit rich coming from me, Sasuke recited. But your powers are bullshit. Oh, it is rich. There was a flash of a foot in Sasuke's peripheral as Sasori walked over to inspect the Amaterasu. You know, I never thought I'd be grateful to Orochimaru for spending so long going on and on about the leaf stojitsu. Rule 1, he said, never let the Uchiha look at you. The strings tightened, Sasuke felt blood flow to his brain begin to slow. Tell me, Uchiha. Sasuke made sure to pinpoint exactly where Sasori's voice was coming from. How does it feel to have your precious eyesight rendered useless? Sasuke coughed. I'd have thought you'd have realized by now. Just because someone can't see his right eye shifted pattern, doesn't mean they can't kill you. Blaze release, Kagutsuchi. The Amaterasu he'd lit upon the ground rushed across it, and was upon Sasori in an instant, and the Akatsuki let out a blood-curdling shriek as his form was engulfed in black flames. Almost immediately he lost control over his threads, and Sasuke was released from the cage of puppet parts, which only resulted in him flopping ungracefully to the floor. Kabuto blinked as the mind control was released. Yo, holy shit. Sasuke turned his head, eyes bleeding, to look the rapidly melting metal scrap that used to be an S-rank ninja. I guess you could say the puppeteer, fire dammit, I was doing so good on the action hero lines. There was a rough grip on his shoulder, and Kankuro pulled him to his feet. I'm sure you can be forgiven, just this once. He'd pulled out another puppet to see with, and it was looking worriedly at Sasori's remains. Mind telling me what the hell that was? Blaze release. Sasuke stretched, closing his eyes against the blinding headache. My personal and incredibly painful nature transformation. There's no such thing as blaze release. Well, technically, it's just really good fire release, but do you really want to debate me on it? Sasori's corpse bubbled slightly. Kankuro looked to it, then back at Sasuke. No. Precisely. Come on, let's find my swords and get on after the others. With a loud boom, Deidara crashed into the ground. Naruto landed perfectly calmly in front of him, brushing some lint off his shoulder. In his left hand, he casually hefted one of Deidara's arms, sniffed it, then chucked it to one side. Around them was a scene of middling to large devastation. Trees had been uprooted, foot-deep claw marks were etched into the ground, explosion craters peppered the area. Kakashi and Sakura were stood a few meters back, staring at their teammate with just a little fear in their eyes. Deidara stood up, clutching his stump arm and glaring at them. Well damn. That's why they were saving the 9 tails for pain. That was one tail of power. Naruto grinned. Do you want all 9? Can we make him fight all 9? No. You're no fun. The chakra cloak dispersed from around Naruto's form, and he stretched as his 2 teammates came to stand beside him. Heh. No thanks. But if I'm going out, I'm sure as hell not doing it like a little bitch. Deidara shrugged off the tattered remnants of his cloak and put his hand on the mouth on his chest. This is a little something I like to call my suicide bomb technique. 10 guesses what it does. Naruto tilted his head. Does it blow you? Yeah, it blows me up. Deidara started glowing, grinning at them. Don't bother trying to run. This is gonna destroy the whole damn forest. Crap. Sakura summarized. What do we do? I got nothing. Admitted Naruto. I could stop him. Kakashi mentioned. What? The 2 Chunin rounded on him. That's great. Do it. Kakashi sighed. I dunno. There was a pause. Sorry, what? Naruto repeated. I mean, Kakashi looked down dejectedly. It just feels like you and Sasuke haven't been appreciating me very much recently. You've really hurt my feelings, and I don't know if I'm up to this. Your Naruto looked between him and Deidara, the latter of which was making a gradually more high-pitched humming noise. You're holding us all hostage, because we hurt your ego? Does he do stuff like this often? Sakura asked. All the time. Naruto sighed. For the Kakashi-sensei, you're an amazing ninja who's very strong and talented. And attractive? Kakashi looked up hopefully. And attractive. Naruto growled. And intelligent, and you have great taste in masks. Now save us from the exploding person. Please? See, that's more like it. Kakashi walked forwards and lifted his headband. Hey Deidara. Knock knock. 5 seconds from exploding, the Akatsuki raised an eyebrow. Who's there? Kamui. Kamui WH, there was a muffled boom. Countries away, Toby looked up into the middle distance. Something wrong? Asked Neji, playing cards with Haiden. Toby didn't say anything for a long time. Then, heavily, someone blew up my sandcastle. The one in the different dimension you keep telling us you have? Haiden checked. Ye, that one. Shame. They went back to doing whatever they had been doing. Aftermath 5, who botched the mission? You fucking what? Sasuke and Kankuro had reunited with Kakashi, Naruto, and Sakura on their way back to Suna. Kankuro was busy talking to Sakura, stood with his brother's body. Sasuke had other concerns. His eye changed pattern. Naruto recited. Then he said Kamui and absorbed the entire explosion. Sasuke rounded on Kakashi. The Jonin had his head bent down over his eye, and a smug look on his face. You have a Mangekyo Sharingan? Yeah. Kakashi replied. How? How did you even get a Sharingan in the first place? Well, you see, the Jonin paused, looking for the words. Because I'm Hatake Kakashi. Fuck you, I can do whatever I want. Sasuke threw his hands up in the air, walked away a few steps, then turned back. Why have you never used this before? When have I ever needed to use it before? When Sasuke thought about it. The wave mission. You were stuck in the water prison, we had to bail you out. Kakashi snorted. You think I was stuck in there? Sasuke connected the dots. It was a test? You were testing us? Yeah. Zabuza was almost Kage level. You're still alive, aren't you? Kakashi pointed out. And Zabuza was not Kage level. He could have assassinated Mei, probably, because Mei's fodder, but that's it. I don't believe this. Sasuke walked off in a sulk. What was all that about me needing to be a better Jonin? Kakashi called after him. Fuck you. Sasuke stopped his dramatic exit as 3 forms blurred past him in the other direction, landing in front of the group. 2 healers, supporting 1 blonde kunoichi. Oh, good. You're all still alive. Chiyo remarked. Mostly. Temari winced, pointing. His body's intact. Sakura told Kankuro, running glowing green hands over Gaara. The red-haired boy was lying on the floor, perfectly still. Physically fine, no poison, just sort of empty. Bijou extraction. Chiyo explained, walking up. Seen it before. The relationship between Jinchuriki and Bijou is symbiotic. The beast's chakra and the human's mix, chakra coils expand to compensate, and if the beast's chakra is removed, all the Jinchuriki's is ripped away with it. Then before they can regenerate it, when have you ever seen this before? Kankuro asked her. About 15 years ago. Chiyo told them. In Shikaku's previous host, after I'd just transferred it into Gaara. You did, do you know what happened to the Bijou? Chiyo ignored Kankuro's outbreak. It's not a great idea to leave them running around unchecked. The rest of the group looked at Naruto. He frowned, looking off into the middle distance. No. Actually. Kyuubi couldn't sense him anywhere in the cave, or chasing after Deidara. And Sakura's right, there's no Big Sandy in Gaara anymore. It's like he's in a new host. An Akatsuki host. Kakashi frowned. That's not good. If we found Shikaku. Kankuro looked up, knuckles white. Put the bija back, do you think not enough? Chiyo sighed. You could jumpstart the body, but his soul's already in the Pure Lands. You're not getting that back, not without. She paused. Everyone's eyes slowly turned to her. Shit. She muttered. You have a way? Temari asked, voice cracking. Please. He's our brother. Kankuro begged her. Chiyo growled to herself. Damn kids and their damn puppy dog eyes. Kisho Tensei. It's a suicide jutsu. If the body is in good condition, it lets you sacrifice your own life to restore theirs. Can't help if he's been cut in half, poisoned, or is dying of old age, but in special cases like this, yeah, it could bring him back. Problem is I'm old and frail, I don't have the chakra to revive him successfully. There was silence. The group looked at Gaara, each other, Chiyo, and back again. And then ate. Teach it me. Temari's eyes widened and she looked up in surprise. Kankuro, I'm strong enough. The middle San sibling rolled his shoulders. Teach me the suicide jutsu. I'll bring him back. Kankuro, you can't. Temari hissed. It'll kill you. Yeah. That's what suicide does. Chiyo gave them both a critical eye. I remember a boy, she said, who thought his youngest sibling was a monster. Who preferred the company of puppets to that of his family. What's changed now, Sabaku no Kankuro? Kankuro looked down. His fingers twitched, as though he was attempting to manipulate a puppet that wasn't there. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. He started. Failing entirely to dodge this one sword swing, that was a mistake. Failing entirely to aim my turret puppets properly, that was another big one. But the biggest mistake I've ever made was not being there for my little brother when he was growing up. Because he thought that everyone hated him, and he might just have been right. And then, Kankuro choked a little, after the mess in Konoha? He thought he had to apologize to me. Chiyo stared at him, unmoving. So I'm not fucking this bit up. The young puppeteer sighed. If I've gotta die to give Gaara an actual life, then I'll do it. Just let him know I loved him, alright? There was silence. Naruto sniffed. Well then. Chiyo shrugged. I suppose the bitchiest thing to do right now is make you live with the embarrassment after giving that speech. What whiskers, come here. I need to borrow some chakra. Chiyo walked over to Gaara, cracking her knuckles, and Naruto hesitantly followed. I thought you said you didn't. I don't have enough chakra, but you should have plenty to spare. Chiyo chuckled. I just need a temporary pulse of bija goodness to set him off with, and then once he's back on his feet, he'll start replenishing it on his own. Don't worry, you won't have to die to get this to work. Are you actually gonna die to do this? Naruto asked, laying his hands on Gaara's body as instructed. Kid, good rule to live by. Chiyo explained. If ever you're in doubt about a decision, pick the one with the coolest way to die. I think you're my new role model. Naruto gaped. Damn right. Now, start pouring when I say. It wasn't a very dramatic event, bringing Gaara back from the dead. There was no swelling musical orchestra, no bright lights, no powerful whirlwind that lifted up Gaara's form. Naruto poured some of his chakra into Gaara, and Chiyo did the same, and over a few minutes her posture sagged, and her eyes closed. Eventually she leaned back, exhaled, and daintily as you please lay backwards onto the grass. And that was that. A few moments later, Gaara coughed. The fuck? Everyone clustered around as the ex-Jinchuriki slowly sat up, wincing, and looked around at them all. Gaara? You okay? Temari asked. Ha. I told them I had good friends. Was all he responded with, smiling. The Konoha nin stayed for Chiyo's funeral. It was a fairly grand affair, as she had been a well-respected member of the village for a long time. Gaara, as Kazekage, gave a speech, pointing out that he was the last in a long line of people who owed their lives to the woman, and the Leaf Five respectfully ignored the part where he talked about how many people from the other villages she'd killed. Suna has not known many like her, Gaara concluded, and now it is up to us to follow in her example. 2 dead Akatsuki for 1 old woman. Kankuro said after the speech, stood beside foreigners. I'm pretty sure that qualifies as mission success. I know Chiyo would have made the trade in a heartbeat, so I can't really complain. Did you know her well? Naruto asked. We got pretty close after that one time we attacked your village. Temari explained, walking up. It was nice to have some sort of parental figure, if only for a few years. Kami knows we had a lot to catch up on. Shikaku is still missing. Kakashi reminded them. So I can't really say we succeeded. The big softy is trying to say that this was on the house. Sasuke interrupted. Gar's our friend, as weird as that is, so you don't have to pay us to help save him. Plus, he smirked, the bragging rights for Konoha is payment enough. I'll let you have that one. Kankuro sighed. But don't expect Suna to come begging for help anytime soon. We can go it alone, as long as we remember to stick together. Does that make any sense? About as much sense as you can expect a ninja to make. Naruto grinned. Gaara walked off the stage to meet them. Physically, he'd recovered very quickly from, well, death. As a matter of fact, he was looking better than they'd ever seen him. How was the speech? He asked, impassively. Naruto opened his mouth, but was beaten by a pink form flying past him and colliding with Gaara. You did amazing, darling. Sakura said, draping herself over the Kazekage's left arm. I'm so proud of you. Thank you, Sakura. Gaara replied, wrapping the arm around her waist and smiling at her. Naruto held up a finger and pointed between them. Wait, is that mutual? I respect her determination, drive, dry wit and skill with medical ninjutsu. Gaara summarized. Also, she has a nice ass. Kakashi choked. He's infallibly polite, respectful and powerful. Sakura explained. Also, he has a nice ass. Kankuro choked. Oh yeah, sorry Sasuke. Sakura turned to him with a scornful look. But Gaara's actually nice to me, which is more than I ever got from you. What do you? Naruto elbowed his best friend, and Sasuke recovered quickly, and made a sorrowful face, lowering his head respectfully towards her. Right, I understand. I hope he makes you happy. He turned around to Naruto and mouthed yes. With an ecstatic look on his face. You do realize we're gonna have to find you a girlfriend eventually, right? Naruto checked in with his best friend. Eventually. Sasuke nodded. Not now. That was a decent excuse back when we graduated, but you're, what, 15 now? And you've never even had a date. Oh, like you're one to talk. Hey, my first crush turned out to be a dude. What do you think put me off Sakura? I'm never trusting anyone that flat ever again. You what? Sakura shouted, you had a what? Haku gasped. Kakashi sighed as the 2 medics entered the heated debate, leaving him and the 3 Sand siblings watching in amusement. Does it make any sense that I've missed this? He remarked to them. Kankuro chuckled. About as much sense as you can expect a ninja to make. 5th Hokage Tsunade put the mission report down and whistled. Well, that was a roller coaster. The Akatsuki traded 2 members for a Jinchuriki. A Jinchuriki one of them beat. They've failed, right? Naruto asked, concerned. Treated on its own, this is a serious blow to them, yes. Tsunade admitted. But if you look at the bigger picture, it's not the first time they've gone bijou hunting. Kakashi frowned. Naruto. Remember right after your Chunin exams? They went after the Kyuubi. Naruto gulped. You think this is just step 1? I'll warn the other villages. Tsunade decided. Lightning has the 8 tails, Mist has the 3, 2 still under lock and key, but more than one of the Jinchuriki are out of the hidden village's control. We won't be able to warn them. We can protect me, though, and the 9 tails can beat most of the others at once. Naruto pointed out, smugly, then winced when everyone looked at him. Sorry. QB talking. You think they want all the beasts? Haku asked. What for? The last person to hold all the bijou was Senju Hashirama, and he could have ruled the world if he'd fancied. Though he hardly needed them to do that. Tsunade shrugged. Whatever their reasoning, my sources say they're moving. We have sources? Sasuke asked. How do we have sources in the Akatsuki? Tsunade smiled, wryly. Your brother just got back. I don't know how he does it, but he's not been wrong yet. Itachi shuffled his cards. Do you have any fours? Asked Neji's shadow clone. Itachi sighed, and flicked one over. This is no fun when you can see what's on my cards, asshole. Also, what's your murder club doing? But we have more pressing concerns. Tsunade turned on Sasuke. Namely, what you heard about Orochimaru. The room fell silent, and the killing intent in the air went up by about 50%. We're not letting that slide, are we? Naruto tried not to make it a threat, and failed. No chance. Tsunade rolled her shoulders. I doubt I need to give you much in the way of instructions about this next one. I take it you all want to go? Can't. Haku held a hand up apologetically. May wants me back in Mist over the next few days. Something important, apparently. I can be the one to warn her about the Akatsuki? All right. I'll sort out a replacement. I'm sure I can scrounge up someone of your skill level. Tsunade agreed. Any other concerns? Yeah, actually. Kakashi held up his hand. One small problem. He promptly collapsed face first onto the carpet. Tsunade sighed. I suppose I'll also have to get you a new team captain. Sasuke walked into the Uchiha living room and sat down on the sofa. A few moments later, Itachi appeared in the doorway and sat down next to him. Kakashi's Sharingan has the thing. Sasuke said, immediately. I know. Itachi replied. And you don't care? Your father actually decreed no harm was to come to him for having one. Itachi admitted. Respect for his work in the war, maybe? Or just that Obito was such an embarrassment Dad didn't want people thinking about him who? The guy Kakashi's Sharingan came from. Weak, even by regular ninja standards, though he was only a genin when he died. Well, either way, Kakashi can't use it very well. Sasuke rolled his eyes. He used some space-time ninjutsu once, acted fine all the way back to Konoha, then face-planted in Tsunade's office. Drama queen. Humph, Itachi smiled. I heard you killed one of the Akatsuki. How did that go? Kankuro helped. Sasuke defended. And I had to use it to win. Itachi's face fell. One, or both. That's not good. I know. In hindsight, I should have kept Naruto with me. A few hundred shadow clones would have done me a lot of good, but apparently he was integral to beating Deidara, so you're alive. Itachi reassured. That's all that matters. It's all right to use it as a crutch until you're strong enough without it, but be careful. I'd rather you be able to see the candles on your 18th birthday. Sasuke was forced to concede Itachi's point. He'd used his powers 7 times total, hadn't even managed the Susanoo yet, but comparing it to memories of his battle with Kimimaro, yeah, there was difference in clarity. His Sharingan still blew normal vision out of the water, but it was a scary thing. Not to mention now you're going after Orochimaru of all people. His elder brother continued. Just remember Itachi was interrupted as he broke out coughing. Sasuke winced, patting his brother on the back. You all right? That's getting worse. You fine. Itachi shook his head. Caught something nasty while I was scouting. That's what you said the last 2 times. Sasuke gave him a look. Have you tried going to Tsunade about it? Tried, sure. Itachi mumbled. He wiped some blood from the corner of his mouth and sighed. Anyway. Good luck. Itachi didn't quite vanish, more blurred out the door. If Sasuke had had his Sharingan on, he'd have been able to track it, no problem. He wasn't sure if that meant he was getting faster or, worryingly, that his brother was slowing down. He shook off the nasty thought as his father walked in through the door, a few seconds later. Are you all right, son? That was a nasty cough. I'm fine, Dad. Sasuke stood up, smiling. Must have caught something in Suna. Did you want help laying the table? Hey, Sai. The root member, assassin, spy, torturer, and otherwise bad egg turned around with a smile to see his boyfriend walking towards him. Good morning, Haku. The mist native walked forwards and gave him a quick kiss, before leaning back with his hands in his pockets. I hear you're replacing me on Team Kakashi. Or, well, I suppose it would be Team Yamato now. You know the other new guy? Umbu Captain, inherited the wood style somehow, experienced and talented. Sai listed off the things he was supposed to know. We've worked together before. I think we'll do well. Haku nodded, but something was obviously bothering him. Hey, Sai. You know your Dark Master? Sai winced. Please stop calling him that. Right, it's just Haku met his eyes. There aren't any evil plans going on around this mission, right? And Sai said no. You know, like a liar. Haku sighed, visibly relieved, and Sai immediately felt like shit. Thanks for reassuring me. Sasuke and Naruto are my friends, you know? Actually, Haku's eyes took on a gleam. Tell you what. If you pull off this mission successfully, he leaned forwards and whispered something in Sai's ear. The pale boy's eyes widened to the size of saucers, and, for the first time in years, a full-on blush appeared on his cheeks. You'll, Haku grinned. How will you get Ino? You know she'd jump at the chance to join in with that. Sai coughed and straightened his posture. I look forward to it. Great. Haku clapped him on the shoulder and smiled. Send me a letter when you all get back, okay? Sai watched him jump away. He wondered, not for the first time, if it was even possible to avoid this particular command from Danzo. But there never had been before.
Thank you for your views, likes, subscriptions, and overall support of my ongoing efforts to bring great content to all of you. Check out my Patreon for more mature fanfiction. The link is in the description and like everywhere on my channel.